Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo Podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Gemma, and joining me this week, I have the one and only Kirk. Welcome back, Kirk.
Hey, it's good to be back and in the air conditioning.
Ooh, bit of a hot summer for you guys over there.
Yeah, we're I think close to the tail end of a heat wave where I live. So
Okay, yes. Well, I'm glad you have some comfort while we talk all things Nintendo. And no Trev this week, just the two of us will be the dynamic duo this week. But we've got plenty to talk about, that's for sure. It's been a seemingly big week in terms of just little tidbits of news. So excited to talk about quite a few of these items. And I just wanted to call out thank you to the comments we had on YouTube during the week. We had quite a few. And thank you to our regular watcher, listener, and commenter, Jose, for commenting again and telling us that he's looking forward to Donkey Kong Bonanza. And he really appreciates your obscure references, Kirk. So thank you. He did not call them obscure. That's my word. Sorry. No.
well, no, they are. You know what? It's good to be appreciated. I'm glad there's someone out there. Good job, Jose. These are for you. I'll
Yeah.
see what I can do this week.
Yes, we love it. Awesome. Well, the first news item of the week is this the release date, I guess, of Drag X Drive. Are we calling it Drag X Drive? Drag Times Drive? We always have trouble with this.
I wonder if the capital X makes a difference. If it's lowercase or capital, it means something
Ah,
else. I don't know.
yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, Drag X Drive is what I'm going to refer to it as. And a release date has been revealed. So it's coming out on August the 14th. So about, a month and a half or so away. And this is Nintendo's, I guess, mouse-centric game where you control, they look like little Android type people, but they're in wheelchairs and each mouse controls one of the wheels. And it's a 3-on-3, I guess it's like a basketball situation with wheelchairs and mouse controls, right? Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's going to only be digital only, which is fine, I guess. I was kind of surprised to hear that. But it's the release price they've also announced, which is $19.99.
Good.
Yeah, which I think is good. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, especially since the prices are going up quite a
Mm,
bit for the physical product. If Nintendo's only going to make it available digitally, then I think they should make it available at a previous digital price, and they did.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. I think it's a decent price. We're not sure how much content there is in this game. They've shown they're really just highlighting the mouse controls, I suppose, and that way of playing. It looks fun. You can slam dunk. You can go up this like there's these ramps. You can drive up the sides and then come down and slam dunk the ball into the hoop. Is that the right terminology?
Yes,
Not being a huge basketball knowledgeable person myself, sorry.
hoop or basket will be fine.
Cool, thank you. But it does support 12 players online, which is pretty neat. I don't know how that will work with 3-on-3. I don't know if that means I don't know how that will work. Whether you wouldn't have 4 teams of 3, would you? I don't think.
You could, I suppose, if they set up the baskets in like a what do I want to call it? One on each side of a box, like a plus
Mm,
sign or a diamond or something, as opposed to on each end.
that could be interesting,
Yeah, I
actually.
don't think I saw that in the trailer, but you would be able to do it that way if you wanted to.
Yeah, that could be kind of fun. I could see that being quite fun if they're all different colors. I think in the trailer they're like one team's more of a bluey color, one's more of a like a reddy orangey kind of color to help differentiate. I suppose is that right? Or am I just making that up?
No, yeah, that look great.
But no local multiplayer. That's interesting. You can only play one player on one system. I'm a little surprised about that since it is what looks to be kind of like not a party game, but something you would want to play with other people. Yeah, not sure what to make of that. But the eShop listing, I did check. It does say one player for local system and 12 online. So yeah, I think that's maybe a little disappointing, but we'll see, I guess, how we go when the game comes out. Did you have any thoughts on that? I guess the number of players, because I don't know how interested you are in this game. I know Trev had a bit of interest, I think. How are you feeling about it all?
I'm not that interested. I see it as kind of like the equivalent of ARMS or
Mm.
Splatoon with the
Mhm.
multiplayer. And although I enjoyed some time with Splatoon, I didn't really get into ARMS, and I don't think this is my style game either. But I'm not a multiplayer guy,
Fair
other
enough.
than like say Super Mario Party, of course,
Mhm, mhm.
and some Mario Kart. But otherwise, I'm an isolated gamer.
Fair enough. That's cool. It's good to know yourself. And I think it does give me Splatoon vibes as well, just because it is teaming up with, especially the online component. And maybe that's fine. Maybe they're really that's the place where people are going to play. And I think with 12 people that would be quite fun. I'd like to give it a go. It's probably not something I'm super keen about, but I think it'll be fun. I just hope there's a lot more I'm assuming there's gonna be more than just the one mode where you play 3-on-3 basketball. I don't know, there's gotta be some kind of maybe, I don't know, not a mini game, but, like, certain goals to get or certain I suppose there'll be a training ground or something. Be nice to have something different. 19.99 is relatively cheap, but you want a little bit more for your dollar, I suppose, than just the basketball, if that makes sense. But we'll see.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Maybe they can race. You can do just races in the chairs. See how fast you can do your Joy-Cons. Because I'm reviewing Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, the Joy-Cons are really cool. They actually don't use what do they use? It's like a pixel. It's like a very, very pixelated image that comes through the little Joy-Con area, and it so that it can tell very easily when you move because it's so pixelated. I think it's like 1 by 1 or something. It's, like, ridiculously small. I found that very interesting, the way that the mouse works. Yeah.
You
Any
know,
other Sorry, you go.
speaking of the mouse, when I'm watching the trailer for this, I thought
Mhm.
this is going to be the game where we determine just how sturdy the Joy-Con are as mice, because
Yeah.
trying to go fast and you've got to push the mouse forward on the table or pick it up and put it back down. You're going to be slamming those Joy-Cons onto that surface. I can't imagine anyone is going to be able to just gently, as they're trying to get to the basket, quickly pick it up and gently set it up
Mm.
as they move. So, it looks like it's going to be a pretty intense game with some quick actions. And I bet we're going to see reports of Joy-Con cracking as people slam them down onto their hard surfaces.
Yes, I think that is a really good point because in the trailer, it does show them, obviously moving quite quickly,
Hmm.
rolling it or whatever, and then you have to lift your hand up to actually shoot whichever hand, and I'm gonna assume you can do left or right because that would make sense. But let's just say you lift your right hand to shoot the ball, and then you're gonna have to slam it back down to move again, and you wanna keep up the pace. So, yeah, I wonder if it's a hard surface. That's gonna be hopefully, they're pretty sturdy. Yeah, this would test this would test the durability of those little Joy-Cons. Interesting. Any other thoughts on Drag X Drive then from you?
Nope, I don't think
Nope.
so. Maybe as we learn more, we start to get some actual details on games. I'll
Mm,
have more thoughts, but they haven't
yeah.
given us too much right now.
No, they haven't. Well, let us know, listeners, if you're interested in this game at all and what you think of it. But during the week, we did have it's not, well, we had an anniversary, let's just say that. And it was the 29th birthday of the Nintendo 64 in Japan, at least, because it was released on the June the 23rd, 1996. And then that followed in the US quite a few months later, September the 29th. So that means next year is going to be the big 3-0 for the Nintendo 64. You did not have a Nintendo 64, I believe, because you joined us
No,
with the GameCube, right?
that's right.
Yeah. So it was, 1996, gosh, yeah, 29 odd years ago. It was such a cool system. I like that Nintendo went with the cartridge at the time rather than the disc that Sony was doing. It felt like a bit of a, we're just going to do our thing. We're going to stick with the cartridges. I just found them more robust personally. And there was no loading time compared to the disc situation. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
and
was a fan.
sturdier
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like more dependable. Every time I put a disc in anything and it starts spinning,
Hmm.
I immediately have that fear that it's not going to be able to be read, because that's happened so many times with Blu-ray players with the GameCube, where
Mm.
it either stops spinning or it'll spin forever and then stop, and I get the error. I've seen that on everything that uses a disc at one point. Sometimes you just
Yeah.
clean it and it's fine. But yeah, I would rather just be able to get a game cartridge.
Mhm.
put it in a slot, and be ready to go.
Yeah, me too, definitely. So I really liked that, and it was such a sleek looking system. Yeah, it was really cool, and obviously it had Mario 64 and many other games, introduced us to the 3D Mario, 3D Zelda world. But, I guess this is tied in a little bit because Nintendo Music keeps adding tunes every week on a Monday usually, and Yoshi's Story was added during the week, which was a Nintendo 64 game that was released in 1997. We always talk about Nintendo Music not really tying in with other releases very well, like, they don't release, I don't know, Mario music when there's a Mario game available or whatever, for example. It doesn't seem to tie in with anything else at all. But this kind of does. So anyway, I have a funny story because I love Yoshi's Story. I love the Yoshi games. They're so cute, and they're platformers. They're are sort of akin to Mario, which I also really really love. But I did give this soundtrack a listen, but I didn't really have time to just sit there and listen to it. So what I did was listen to it while I played Street Fighter 6. And I just yeah, they're very different styles.
Did you have the volume up on Street Fighter 6 at all? So you were just listening to the music,
I had
or
it up a tiny bit so I could hear yeah. So but I had the phone the Nintendo Music is on my phone, and I had that right next to me, and I was playing Street Fighter 6 on the TV, and it was not as jarring as I thought. It kind of just made me happy. So
I think
yeah,
yeah, that's fantastic.
yeah.
It would completely change the urgency of the battles.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, so I enjoyed that. I would love to know if other people do that, and in fact, it reminds me of a comment I saw during the week. I don't know where it was, sorry, or who said it, but somebody said they would love Nintendo Music to be on this like, the app, to be on the Switch too, so they could just play whatever they want while they're playing whatever they want. I don't think Nintendo would actually do that because they probably don't want you to listen to Tears of the Kingdom music while you're playing Street Fighter 6. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. But that's kind of what I did. So, it worked well for me. So I'd love to know if anyone else is doing that.
Yeah, I like that idea. I had a thought similar to that once as I was driving down the highway, and some people in front of me were, getting in some road rage incidents,
Oh,
yelling at each other, flipping each other off. I
right.
was listening to, I think, "Good Times" by Chic at the moment, and I thought, if anybody gets arrested or pulled over for road rage, they should be assigned to have to listen to happier music as they're driving, so that they've got no choice but to be in a good mood. Put on some Shonen Knife or something. Cycling is fun, and just kind of bop around. You can't get mad.
That's a good
See, I
point. Yeah.
I don't think I could win Street Fighter 6 if Yoshi's Story is playing, because 'cause I'd just be so happy. I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead, punch me in the face all you want. I'm cool. It's a good day."
Yes. Yes, exactly. It was interesting, but it worked for me for some reason. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Yeah, road rage. Yeah, and music, it does it yeah, because it can create quite the atmosphere. So it would be an interesting experiment, I think, to see maybe get someone playing Street Fighter 6 with, something a bit more aggressive in terms of music, and then someone playing with something like Yoshi's Story and just see if it does impact, the wins.
That's right. We gotta talk to the Stanford professors to do a study on this.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a good thesis in there somewhere. But speaking of the GameCube, which was your first system, we have our first, GameCube game. We had and GameCube games are playable on the Switch 2, as we know, on the Switch Online. There are 3 so far that came with the launch of the Switch 2. We obviously know more are coming. The first of the next round is coming on July the 3rd, which is this week. So it is Super Mario Strikers. And I wondered, I didn't play this, to be honest. I never played Super Mario Strikers. I played the Switch Brawlers. No, what was the Switch one? I don't know, whatever that one was called, the soccer game. Uh, did you ever play this one, Super Mario Strikers?
No.
No.
And
Okay.
I'm mad at Nintendo for doing me wrong. They did me dirty.
Why? Because they're not giving you Fire Emblem, or because
Yes,
yeah.
Fire Emblem Path of Radiance was supposed to be the next release. In my mind, I mean, they never said that. It's true. But yeah, like, how long I gotta they made us wait a month, I guess, for Mario Strikers, so and then maybe in
Mm,
early August, they'll give us Path of Radiance if they don't, decide to
yeah. Yeah.
Do
So it
me wrong
does
again.
it does seem like it might be a monthly thing. Well, based on this one one case that we have. But yeah, if it was June the 5th that the Switch 2 was released, and now July the 3rd is our next GameCube game, I thought they might release more than one at a time, but I don't know how many GameCube games they actually have to draw from, to be honest. It's not like hundreds, right?
Yeah, I'd imagine the catalog's got to be smaller than it was on like the NES or the Game Boy games, of course. So
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, it'd be interesting to see a lot more third-party games. I bet.
Yeah, and I just don't know what the licensing for those is like. Obviously, Nintendo can release their own games
Yeah.
easily, such as Super Mario Strikers. Even Fire Emblem would, of course, be part of that, because that's not really first party, but how do you call that? Is it second party where it's like Nintendo?
Well, they're developed by Intelligent Systems, but I think for Nintendo. Is
Yeah,
Intelligent Systems part of Nintendo? Did they?
I think so. I don't know if it was back then, but I do believe it is now. And I think even back then it was like, I think Trev described this not so long ago, where it's like third party creates the game, like they're the developer, but Nintendo's the publisher, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's sort of a second party or something like that. So all of those games are fine, but yeah, I don't know how the third party ones work. But yeah, I guess I'd love to know, apart from Fire Emblem, of course, what else we would like to see come to the GameCube. I mean, Luigi's Mansion is probably an obvious one, but what else? Is there anything else that would strike you? It's kind of a pun.
Well, I would like to see Super Mario Sunshine.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes.
Um,
Yes, that would be good as
yeah, we
well.
did play that on the GameCube. Otherwise, it's mostly third-party games. I think I may have mentioned in the past that when Tyranny was pregnant with our first child, we played the GameCube almost nonstop together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was it? There was a Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. I don't think we ever
Oh,
finished because Sophie was born.
right.
And after that, we didn't go back to it. So yeah, release that one so we could we could finish it. I could find
Yeah.
my save game on the little what was that little save cartridge that you put in the GameCube. Somehow transferred
Oh,
over and pick
yeah.
up where we left off.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Well, according to the internet, there are up to 651 games for the Nintendo
Wow.
GameCube. Yeah.
I,
That
I
could include, Japan only ones, for example. But that's a lot more than I expected. So that means there is a pretty decent catalog to draw from. I don't know. Yeah, like I said, some of them are probably quite localized, I would expect, to Japan, for example. So they may not make, but we've seen things like what was that random Super Nintendo game that was like a basketball game that was a Japanese game that Trevor and I tried to play and had no idea what we were doing. Or was it dodgeball actually? Maybe something bizarre.
I don't remember.
Yeah, so we might see something like that, something obscure. Um, but yeah, there's obviously I'm sure Super Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion. We already know Small Strikers is already coming on July the 3rd, but we already know that Fire Emblem was in that sort of preview list that we saw when the Switch 2 Direct happened. So we know it's coming, just don't know when. Would you
What
prefer to
was
see a
the
schedule of games? Like, would you prefer to know
no,
what's coming? No. Okay.
no. Yeah, I'd rather they just surprise me
Mhm.
because Path of Radiance isn't on the list until next year. I'm going to be mad, so I'd rather live with the hope that it's
True.
sooner than that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sorry, were you gonna say something else just then as well?
The Smash Brothers game that was on the
Oh,
GameCube, I
yeah.
can't was that Brawl
I
or
thought
was Brawl on Wii?
oh, was it Melee? Was that
Yeah,
Melee?
I think
Yeah.
it was Melee, yeah, yeah, that's one I expect to see soon too.
Mhm. Yes. Yep. I would agree with that one as well. I think a lot of people would be quite happy to see that, and I don't believe I even played that one, to be honest. So, what was I playing on the GameCube? I definitely played Mario Sunshine and Luigi's Mansion. I do remember those 2 very well. I think that was when I was kind of studying a lot, so I didn't have a lot of game time. So, yeah, GameCube was a little bit of a gap for me. Gap
Yeah,
year, gap era. Oh, and
and
Mario
that's
Kart,
also when
of
the game
course.
started taking longer to finish, so,
Mhm.
like, I think there was a big jump, it seems, based on what I played from the, NES, SNES to the GameCube. Suddenly, it was taking a month or 2 to get through games as opposed to just a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's true. And there was also, I guess, Mario Kart Double Dash is another one that we would probably see
Yeah.
coming. Mm.
Yeah, people talk about that one a lot with the
Yeah, I did play that a lot. That was quite fun.
teamwork in that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would be cool. Be fun if we could do that online with the team and see how we go. But let's move on to some Switch 2 news, some more Switch 2 news, I guess. We had Drag X Drive earlier, but we have now this is a game that you reviewed just recently, Kunitsu-Gami. I just don't want to say it wrong.
I
Kunitsu-Gami.
think you got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I've been saying. Kunitsu-Gami.
Path of the Goddess. So I guess to backtrack a little bit, Capcom had some kind of event just really recently. What would you call that event?
It's their equivalent of a direct, more
Mhm.
or less. It was a 40-minute. Here are the games we're working on and what we've got coming kind of show.
40 minutes, and there was nothing particularly new for Switch 2 then, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing. Not that they talked about a couple games that are already out and some things that are coming over, but most of the
Mhm.
content was focused on other systems, which is
Yeah.
understandable. I was hoping that we would get some news on some of the games they have in development coming to Switch 2, but mainly PS5 and that caliber. So probably still
Mhm.
outside our technical capabilities.
Right. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. So the 2 games, that they did mention that are already on the Switch 2, yeah, Kunitsu-Gami Path of the Goddess, which has some free DLC to celebrate its anniversary. So was it originally released? Yeah, it was a year ago, I guess, or it will be a year. Is that in July? When is the anniversary? August? Something like that. I can't remember. But there is some free DLC, which I think is something to do with the audio. Is it making it 8-bit or something? Did I get that right?
Yeah, I see. I don't know if I saw that it was 8-bit. I saw that it was allowing you to change the background music of the game.
Mhm. Yeah. I thought I saw that it was you maybe it's just one of the many options. But you can make the music kind of 8-bit audio or something, but yeah.
Which
Not
is
sure.
kind of like you playing Yoshi music in the
Yeah.
back of
Yes.
Street Fighter 6. This is a
Yeah.
very intense. I don't want to say combat heavy. There is combat, of course, but it's just as much strategy as it is, Twitch
Mhm.
skills. But yeah, playing 8-bit music is going to completely change the overall tone of the game. So I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to that.
Yes, exactly. And can you tell us about the, whatever the PR package for this game is that you might have received?
Yes, they when before the Switch 2 even came out, and the PR company working on behalf of Capcom contacted us. They said they were going to send us a care package, and that arrived recently. It is a fantastic, like a commemorative edition, definitive edition. I don't, it's the collector's edition. We'll go with collectors. And I'm going to see if I could provide some video or photos of this, so people watching on YouTube will be able to see it. But it's just a really great little kit. It had an art book. It has this card that's kind of like this 3D textured design that's just gorgeous. Because the art in the game is fantastic to begin with, and they really wanted to highlight that with this art book and this card. But the coolest thing were these little like wooden. I've seen them for many different things. It's like a thin piece of wood with almost like puzzle pieces on it that you
Hmm.
could pop out and then create little dioramas with it. So it included the shrine, the gate leading into the shrine, and then you've got the two main characters, and then some of the villagers that you could kind of stand on these little stands, and then set up however you want. Just really, really cool little system that I was happy to get, and will certainly be displaying for quite some time.
Yeah, those little cardboard cutout people in the shrine look amazing. They just look lovely. Oh, I'm just looking at the website.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, even the shrine itself as a bit of a backdrop, there's, like, I don't know, 20 odd characters there as well?
is it
So
3, 6, 9, 12? We said say 12 plus the two, 14 total, I believe.
yeah, okay. Yeah,
At
it
least,
does look
yeah, the one
lovely.
I got. Yeah, now in
Okay.
Japan, you could get this, and it came with the game itself. They didn't include the game because I
Mm.
already had
Mhm.
the code, the game key code. But this is exactly the kind of thing where people are complaining about the game key cards.
Mhm.
But if you put your game in a box with all of this additional stuff, I will happily deal with the game key card
Yeah.
in order to get all of this content with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this package is not available yet? Is that I'm seeing an
It's
August date? Is that right?
it's not. I don't think it's available in the U.S. at all.
Ah, okay. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of saying pre-order for August the 31st on the website that I'm looking at. So yeah. But it looks absolutely lovely. Yeah, I will definitely put some pictures up on the video. So if you're listening on YouTube, you will be able to see it. Yeah, amazing. Love that. Any other Kunitsu-Gami news for us?
No, except
Yeah.
if you're one of the people who only got the Mario Kart World and we're happy with that, and are now thinking it's time to look out, I am telling you seriously, check this game out. Loved it,
Yeah.
loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it does sound very unique and I guess breathtaking with that artwork as well. Yeah. This is gonna be a contender for game of the year for you, maybe? Do you think?
Yes, definitely,
Mm.
most definitely.
Mhm. I love that.
Currently, it's current my current Switch, my favorite Switch 2 game.
Yeah, nice.
Yep.
I like having a game I mean, it's not early in the year, we're halfway through the year, but it's good to have something, I don't know, like in your back pocket, like I know in advance kind of what my game of the year is gonna be. I love that. Yeah. Even in your top 10. Like last year was it last year that, Prince of Persia came out? It was like January, and I knew right in when I reviewed it that that would be one of my games of the year. Like, it
Yeah,
wasn't my game of the year, but it was in my top 10 for sure. So, yeah,
yeah,
love
and I
that.
think mine was Unicorn Overlord, and I believe
Mm,
that came out in March, if I recall. So,
yes.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's fun then because 'cause I'm thinking, is anything gonna be able to top this? And
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it to happen, and if not, who cares, because I played one of the coolest games
Mm,
available for the
mhm.
Switch.
Yeah, and we do have some more, obviously we've got a lot to look forward to with Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon ZA, Donkey Kong Bonanza, of course. So for some people, these will be contenders, hopefully, if they're good. Even I guess Horror Warriors could be a contender if it shapes up to be a special one. Yeah, so still something to look forward to for the next half of the year, which is exciting. But the other Capcom game, and I'm assuming this is the one you're referring to, was Street Fighter 6.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there's a teaser trailer for a new character coming to the game, which is Sagat. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. It's he's been around since forever, Sagat, but I don't think I've ever actually said his name out loud. Anyway, so this is coming in August. I don't know the price of this. Like it's DLC, so I assume it's not free. But I don't really know what the price point is for this. But yeah, the teaser trailer looks really neat. It's kind of an anime style video with Sagat attacking, doing some cool moves. He was always a bit scary in Street Fighter 2 because he was kind of this big, tall dude who was one of the, I guess, not quite I think he was a mini, like, they don't have mini bosses, but he was sort of one of the later characters, I think, from memory, leading up to M. Bison. Anyway, so that's happening. So that's I mean, I'm glad the game is getting content. I'm glad both games are getting content. I think that will help with things, like you said, if you're looking for more games to play, of course, there are plenty of third-party games there. We've reviewed, Tetris Puyo Puyo, we've reviewed Kunitsu-Gami, Yakuza 0, of course, and, Street Fighter 6 we'll be reviewing
Yep,
as well.
and Sonic Generations.
Sonic, of course, yep. So there is plenty to play, so if you are looking, for something else for your Switch 2 system other than, say, Mario Kart, which is awesome, there's others there, so check out our reviews if you want some guidance on what is good, and I think most of them have been very good. Like, we haven't had any disappointing entries, right? Like even um, Bravely Default, which wasn't necessarily a review game, that was a personal game for you that you bought and played, but you enjoyed, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
very much.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, plenty there. We'd love to know which Switch 2 games did make the cut for you, and anything that's on your kind of wish list, I suppose. And also if you're a Sagat fan. But, the other cool thing that's happening at the moment is and this, I guess, is a bit of an annual tradition now, is the summer sale on the eShop, which is quite extensive. There's a lot of content for sale, which is another, I guess, good way to, you know, find games to play, especially over summer if you're having a break. Um, we'll go through some highlights, I suppose. What stood out to you, Kirk? Anything in particular?
Well, there are 2 games that, I'm going to buy.
Yeah, nice.
This yeah, they were on my wish list. Said I got an email yesterday, today,
Mhm.
saying that they were on sale, so I went to check it out. The first is, I don't see it on here right now, and I want to say I'm not sure what the actual ending name is called. I don't even know if I've talked about this game before. It's a Mary Skelter game. Have I ever mentioned Mary Skelter?
Mary Skelter, like Mary?
Yes,
Huh.
these are DRPGs along the lines
Ah,
of like the Labyrinth of Galeria games that I have mentioned and like quite a bit. Um, I bought one because I just wanted a game of this type, and I looked online to see what people were recommending, and that one scored favorably, so I got it. The first game that I bought actually was Mary Skelter 2, and when you finish it, you could go back and play Mary Skelter 1. They released a
cool.
third game in this series, and that's the one that I will be buying this time. I'm not ready to play it because it takes a very long time to finish those games. I haven't finished Mary Skelter 2. I haven't even
Nice.
started the first one. But the third game in the series I'll be buying and pocketing because I think it's only $12.99 right now.
Right,
So
yeah.
yeah,
And even the
get it.
second one is on sale for $9.99, which is
Yep.
75% off, so yeah. So it's
What's
a
it called then? Did you find it? What's the Mary Skelter what for the third entry?
oh, I'm looking at the second one, sorry.
Okay.
Which
All
just
right.
seems to be called Mary Skelter 2. Yeah.
The other game is AI The Somnium Files, and I'll explain why I'm getting that when we get to my review games. But
Oh,
it is Spike Chunsoft already lowered the price of this game down to $19.99 when they announced soon after announcing the No Sleep for Kaname Date game, which is part of the series. But now it's on sale 80% off for $3.99. So I've
wow.
got to grab that and start
That's
playing.
yeah, that's a bargain.
Yeah.
That's very good. Is it Mary Skelter Finale? Is that the
Yes.
third one? Yep.
Well, that seems like something I should have been able to remember. The
Yeah.
final game in the series is called Finale.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you
but
go.
that's the one.
Nice. Yeah, that's a really good discount. That's a very healthy
Yep.
discount for sure. Excellent. Yeah, well, I would love to hear your thoughts on that when you do get around to getting it. It looks like there's a lot of other games to choose from, some first party ones as well, like Luigi's Mansion 2, for example. Even what was it I saw earlier? Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Zelda Link's Awakening. There's even a Yukaza. Oh God, how do you say that? Yakuza,
Yakuza
Yakuza,
Kiwami.
Kiwami,
Yeah.
yes, which is part of that series, and that's down to 13.99 from 20. Elder Scrolls, Mario Odyssey, Mario 3D World. There's just a lot there. Even Sonic X Shadows Generations, which I guess would be the Switch version. I don't know actually. The Switch version?
I think it's the Switch version.
Mm. I assume so, but we
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
because they talk about Switch 2 compatibility. So, yep.
Persona 5 Royal, which I think was one that
Yes.
you might have played. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I did play that. Very good game. And it's 65% off. It's only $21 right now.
Mhm. Yeah, so there's some really good discounts. My Sims, Nintendo Switch Sports, Mario and Sonic, yeah, Mario and Rabbids, which kind of always seems to be on sale, to be honest. I think. Don't pay full price for Mario plus Rabbids. It's a great game, but it seems to be on sale a lot, so just watch for a sale. Disney Dreamlight Valley, yeah, there's quite a bit there. So I don't know if there's any on my wish list because I did get an email during the week as well, but it seemed to be a game I already had. So I don't know. I must need to take it off my wish list. Maybe does that happen? Then it seems to,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. And I can't even remember what it was now, but I have already bought it. Um, yeah. So there's a heap of games on sale. I think when does the sale end? Do we know?
Well, it says 12 days today. So by the time we record, you only have a little more than a week left. Or by the
Mhm.
time this is published, we'll only have a little more than a week. So
Yeah. Yeah.
don't wait too long on this one.
Yeah, 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 jump on. And I think last week Trev was talking about filtering on the Switch 2 to see Switch 2 versus Switch 1 games. And I believe you can do that. At least when you're looking at the sales, I could do that. So, yeah, there's a filter option. I think it may be on the top of the screen from memory. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that, but yeah, I did find that that was a possibility. So you can look
Good.
specifically for Switch 1 or Switch 2 games.
Good.
Yeah. So that's the summer sale. which leaves us plenty of time to talk about the games that we're playing this week. So I will go first. And I did briefly mention Street Fighter 6 earlier, and that's because I'm actually reviewing it. That's why I'm playing it. That's why I was listening to Yoshi's story music. And this, I kind of appreciate Capcom and Sega because they seem to be the two companies that did. I mean, there are others, of course. There's Hogwarts Legacy, there's, Bravely Default, but Sega and Capcom did release more than one game for the Switch 2 on release. So, I think that's great to see a couple of games from each studio. And Street Fighter 6, I am really enjoying it. It's pretty deep, to be honest. I mean, it's got the usual fighting, but there's a whole there's a usual story mode as well, where you go through a series of fights and fight to the end, and then kind of end the game. And I did that, but you can choose how many battles you do. So I chose 5 just to see what it was like, but you can choose more. But there's also this avatar creation where you can create your own fighter, and then you go on an adventure with Luke is the kind of coach, and so he's kind of coaching you and giving you missions and things like that. I've only just delved into that very briefly. I created my avatar. I have to say, I feel like I say this regularly in some ways, but this is one of the most robust avatar creators I've ever seen. I mean it this time because I just don't think I've ever seen anything with as many options as this. You can change just everything. Like so many details you can hone in on. Like it's not just about having your height and your weight or your body shape or your hair and your eyes. It just goes into so much detail. Like you can change your hair tone. It can be two-toned. It can make your bangs longer if because I've chosen a female character. You can even target your muscles. You can target where your tattoos go, and there's a whole bunch of tattoos if you want tattoos. There's just so much to it, which is pretty cool. So I spent quite a bit of time creating my avatar there. And now I'm going on this adventure.
Is it easy to do?
The avatar creator?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I didn't have any issues. There's a whole bunch of it's kind of standard, I suppose, these days. We have a whole lot of things along the top where you press L and R to go back and forth between. And
Mhm.
then when you're on, say, I don't know, face or body or whatever, there's a list on the left of all the different things you can change, and then you click kind of the A button and it brings up something more in the center of the screen, which is about how to actually change those. And then your character's kind of further on the right of the screen and on display, so you can see it change in real time. Yeah, I had absolutely no issues with that. Have you experienced avatar creators that aren't very user friendly?
I don't know if I want to say they're user friendly or there's so much to do that it just takes so long that it's almost like the first hour. You know what it was? It was
Mm.
that AEW Fight Forever wrestling game
Ah,
that I
mhm.
reviewed. There was you could create your own wrestler.
Yep.
And there was so much to do that like an hour into it, I was like, why am I bothering with this? There are so many
Yes.
great wrestlers in AEW. I don't need to be myself.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
yeah,
want to
that's
be
true.
Kenny Omega or
Yeah.
Orange Cassidy.
I will say with this one, they have some, like, templates you can choose. So I actually chose a template at the beginning, and someone I quite liked, and I thought, "This looks pretty good. I might just make her a little bit taller. I might just give her hair a different color." But I was pretty happy with the face. I didn't really change the eyes or anything. So you can just choose someone more or less by default, and then you don't have to go through all of this rigmarole if you don't want to, which I do appreciate that you've got that option. So you're not starting from a blank slate. You can start from a blank slate, but you can just choose, yeah, these I guess, created avatars, and then you can just
Mhm.
tinker with them as much as you want. So I found that really useful. Yeah. And there's a lot of characters, so that's the world that's the kind of story. It's not the story mode because there is a story mode, which is the fighting component, but this is another story mode. So it's kind of 2 story modes. But the fighting action itself is really good. I did the tutorial. I played Street Fighter before, but not Street Fighter 6 or 5 or probably not even 4, I don't think. I don't think I played any Street Fighter since Street Fighter 3 maybe. Definitely played a lot of Street Fighter 2. I'm not the best fighter. I know my way around, but I'm certainly not very good at it. I thought I'll just do the tutorial just to see what's kind of new and what's happening. And it was very useful, I found. It gave you a time. It said it takes about 7 minutes to learn the moves. You can kind of skip through it if you want to. It gave me a bit more confidence, and then I did kind of the proper story mode where you just go through a series of battles until the end. I did some versus mode against the CPU, and I jumped online as well and did some battles there. And that was really neat. It was very smooth. I didn't have any trouble finding anybody. I did have trouble winning, mind you.
That's
So,
always the way.
yeah. And one thing I will say, you can choose your there's like a ranked thing where it's supposed to put you with people of your own skill level, right? And I think I chose the second level because the very first one was like novice, like you've never played a fighting game before. And I'm like, well, I'm not a novice. I have played fighting games before. I feel like I will be cheating if I put that. So I put beginner, I think is the next one where you have some fighting experience,
Mhm.
but you're not like a pro. But I still got beaten. So I don't know if these other people are choosing beginners and like, are they really beginners? But I did win my third battle, so I was quite happy with that. I felt satisfied, and Yoshi's story did get me through that. So thank you to Yoshi's story. But there's like 26 characters to choose from, so there's quite a big roster. You can even change them to some extent, like you can change their costume colors, you can change their poses. There's a lot of customization. Chun-Li is my go-to, so I love Chun-Li. There's definitely some familiar faces like Chun-Li, Ryu, Ken, even Cammy and Bison's there. There's a whole lot of new faces that I just do not recognize. That's probably because I haven't played it since Street Fighter 3. So yeah. But they seemed really good. Sorry, you had something to say?
Well, I was just going to ask, when you went online to play other people, were they using custom fighters or were they more or less just going with the ones that were built
Ah,
into the game?
they were the usual Street Fighter characters. That's a good question. I don't know if you can fight with your own character
See, I
because
thought that would be cool. Like that, then I would start to understand because, especially if you're going higher up in the ranks, and someone
mm,
goes to fight you, they're not going to recognize that person and not
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
I've practiced against this person forever, and I know how to beat
Yeah.
him or her.
That's
So,
yeah,
yeah,
interesting.
if it would almost give you just a little bit of an advantage up front.
Mm. I mean, I'm not saying you can't because I created my avatar after I did the online play. I
Okay.
will look into that and see if that is possible because that would be neat. Yeah. But because I did the online first, I just chose Chun-Li. Um, yeah, I'll have a look and see. That would be kinda cool. Yeah. We'll see. But yeah, the game's really fun. It looks great. You know, it's very colorful. There's lots of nice backgrounds. It looks really nice on the Switch too. There's no loading issues. I'm gonna talk about this for a little while, I think, because loading issues always bug me on the Switch, and they just
It's
don't seem to exist on the Switch too, which is really cool. Have you noticed that as well?
yes.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, so much better. No waiting times, no loading times. Yeah, it's like I said, it's really smooth. I think the frame rate looks really good. As I said, the online was really smooth as well. I didn't have any glitches or lags or anything. Yeah, so far so good. So I will continue to play that and write up my review. My review for Yakuza 0 I've written and should be up over this weekend. So by the time the podcast launches, you should be able to read that review. And I think that's it for me. What are you playing, Kirk?
The first game I want to talk about is one that the review just went live today.
Nice.
It is Tron Catalyst for the Switch, not the Switch 2, mind
Hmm.
you. This is a top-down isometric action game, more or less. I think I mentioned Tron before. I have very strong opinions on Tron
Yes.
and what I want Tron to be. That's because I think 1982 I saw it in the movie theater and it completely blew me away. It was like nothing I've ever seen before, and I've still never seen anything like it. And I wish they would make some games that were set in that universe, not in the Tron Legacy universe.
Right.
Because Tron Legacy universe to me looks like just a bunch of people wearing black with LED light strips on them. It's really not that cool looking, I think, compared to the first Tron. Having said that, this is one of the best Tron games I've played since the arcade games from the first movie.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not perfect. It's the combat gets a little redundant after a while, um, but it's unique in that it follows the story of a program on the grid. Her name is EXO. She's a delivery person. is on a delivery, realizes one of the packages is about to blow up. She throws it away. The package does blow up. She survives it and ends up with kind of a power called the glitch, that like the whole system is glitching more or less, but she is able to go back in time as a part of this. So it's used in a cool way in the game. Like you will go, you got to go meet someone and you get to the spot where the person is and like, oh, he just left. Like, okay, well, I can go back in time now. And the routes that had been unlocked the first time are still unlocked and you can get there faster. Um, so it's cool the way that works. The sad thing about it is you spend a lot of time going back and forth because of this in a game where it's kind of already redundant visually and as far as the gameplay goes. So
Mm.
you do have to deal with that, but it's also you can complete the game in about 10 to 12 hours. So it's not like something where having to go through certain areas multiple times is really going to get on your nerves
Yeah.
because it doesn't last that long. The combat is mostly disc based. You're fighting with your disc as you would in a Tron game. There are some light cycle moments as well. The light cycles aren't quite as cool as they are because they just mostly it's a way to get from here to there faster. There are some battles with it, but it's not as fun as it has been in previous Tron games that I played. The way it's done. But the best thing about this game, the two best things are the story is good. Um, and the voice acting is outstanding. I really didn't expect that in kind of a lower budget third party game, but very well done. The characters are all played kind of subtly, but with urgency that really helped push the story forward. Like you weren't thrown out of it because somebody was just way over the top with the acting. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, it worked for me. I had a good time with it. There are a couple, I guess, had a couple things that don't work as well as I would like, but ultimately, if you're a Tron fan, especially of the later movies, yeah, check this out. It's like I said, one of the better Tron games I've played in quite some time.
Cool. How does it fit? Is there a Tron timeline or anything like that?
Yeah, it's kind of after, I would guess the what is it? Is it yeah, it's sort of after I mean, I don't fully know what the Tron timeline would be because other than the movies, there was a cartoon on Disney that I watched a few episodes of and then they yanked it, so I never found out what happened.
Ah.
But they talk about Flynn, so we know that Flynn either was in the system or is now out. Um, but it's set right around the time of Tron Legacy.
Okay. And the disc thing, was that in the original Tron? Did they use discs?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, yeah. It was kind of the same thing where it was the identity disc. All your information was stored on it, but then you also used it as a weapon. I guess kind of like if your driver's license was on a frisbee,
What
you
happened
could
if it
fight
broke?
people with it.
What happened if you broke your disc? Did you lose your identity?
um, well, I know this. I can't remember if they said in the first Tron movie, there was a line that said, if you lose your disc or something, you will be immediately derezzed. So I don't know if that was a punishment for losing it or if it
Mm,
broke, that was the end of you.
wow. It seems,
Yeah,
yeah,
very important. Which
yeah.
makes you think you wouldn't want to be throwing it at
No.
people.
No. 'Cause so you can't have more than one disc then, right?
Nope. Yep, you
No,
just got one.
okay. Just the one. And how do you hold on to it?
Oh, it straps onto your back.
Okay. And
Yeah.
Is it Jeff Bridges? Is he the main Tron guy from the original? Is it the
He
guy?
played Flynn. He was the
Yeah.
human who went down in there. Now, and that's funny too because all these things are called Tron, but the actual character of Tron has become a footnote in the franchise.
Right. Okay. So Flynn is mentioned, but he's not in this
Yeah,
game. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
he's not in it.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Being in the Tron fan that you are, that's really promising. So hopefully listeners who are fans will also find some enjoyment from that. How many Tron games do you think there are altogether?
Oh boy, they went all the way back. There were two. There were three. There were three released for the Intellivision.
Oh, right.
Intellivision somehow got the rights to Tron and released Tron Deadly Discs, Tron Mazatron, and Tron Solar Sailor for the IntelliVoice.
Wow.
There you go, Jose. Um,
Yeah.
but then, yeah, there were two really, really cool arcade games. One was called Discs of Tron, and they had you could find it where the cabinet went all the way around you and behind you, and then it was lit up with like the kind of like neon lights. So when you got in it, it felt like you were there on the grid,
Cool.
and it had surround sound, which was kind of new at the time. So when the disc bounced off the wall and went behind you in the game, you heard it behind you. It was the coolest thing.
Nice. Yeah, it does sound cool.
And then there was I mentioned it in the review, there was a Tron 2.0 that was released for PC and Macintosh and maybe some
Mm.
consoles back around, when did I say that was? Around 2003, maybe?
Yep.
And that one was really good. And that was set in the universe of the first Tron movie because obviously there was no legacy yet. And
Yeah, okay.
it involved characters. I think Tron was in it, and Bruce Boxleitner reprised his role, did the voicing for Tron.
Oh, okay. Cool. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
After all these years,
Yeah,
it's still
it's
going.
a good universe that I feel like has been wasted by
Yeah.
Disney.
Yeah.
I wish it had been in the hands of anyone except Disney,
Hmm.
because I just don't think they have any idea what they should be doing with it. And now, like I said in the review, if they see black with neon lighting, they just slap the Tron name on it and then move on to whatever Pixar flop is next.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that sounds a bit jaded, but
Yeah.
also
I
but
told you I had strong opinions of Tron. You were warned.
yeah, but also true, and I'm sure some other series fans, Star Wars, might feel the same way about Disney. Anyway, we won't go into that. Thank you, Kirk, and what else are you playing?
I am playing a game that is coming out at the end of the month. It is called. I know the name, but I just realized that my screen with the information on got blocked behind an age verification. So let me type in my age again. No Sleep for Kaname Date from AI The Somnium Files.
Cool. So is that the full
This
title?
That's the full title.
Mhm,
The series on which is based is just called AI: The Somnium Files, and I
mhm.
haven't played either one of those games. I will now because I absolutely love this game. I got early access and have finished it. Just wildly entertained throughout. I don't know how close it is to the original games. I feel like this one is more of an escape room kind of game. I mean, it definitely is, and I
Mm.
don't know that the others were. They were more like a detective mystery solving games. So I'll be able to tell you how close it is to the other two once I go back. And as I said, since I'm going to be buying one for $3.99,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll be
Which
able
is a
to
great
let you know.
prompt.
But yeah, the premise here is that you're playing Kaname Date, and he has this ability where he's able to use this. There are a lot of abilities.
Right.
He can there's this P sync where he's able to get inside the dreams or the head of suspects, or in this game they're not really suspects, there are people who are inside like a pod and they don't know who it is, so he's got to get in there and figure out who it is. um and is able to do so. He's got this AI assistant who is kind of living inside of him but is able to come out. One of the running gags is that she's really into insects, and she's every time she starts to go nuts because there's an insect around, Kaname will close the eye that she looks out of so she can't see it, and she gets mad. A
Yeah.
lot of weird gags like that. The age block here is because one of the running gags is Kaname's really into, we'll say, adult material.
Mhm.
Um, and talks about it frequently. We never see anything. I don't know, the game doesn't need an age gate because or it doesn't need to be rated mature because nothing is really shown. It's just discussed
Yeah.
in a comedic way. So funny. I mean, I can't. Like, I was playing this game, and at one point, my wife was in the room. She's like, "You're really enjoying this, aren't you?" I said, "You don't have any idea how funny the dialogue is
Oh, that's
that is
good.
going on." Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's so you're in these. There's a character named Iris. She's an internet idol, and suddenly finds herself in this. We'll say it's an escape room, as if she's been abducted by aliens. And
Mm.
so Kaname has to go in and kind of like guide her. She describes what she sees. You're playing as her. You're moving around at that point, but then he's giving information about what you can do. Um, some of the puzzles are really difficult. There was one where I just, for the life of me, could not even get started on it. And then once I did figure it out, it flowed pretty well.
Mm.
It's good to have other people in the room because I was playing one and Tyranny was looking at it and ended up finding the answer for me. Um, Others, I just, was able to figure it out myself. Like if you go into an actual escape room with other people,
Mm.
um, you want to make sure that the people you're in there with are either good working on their own or think the way you do. Otherwise, you just keep butting heads.
Yeah, yeah. That's true.
But a lot of fun. I can't go into too much detail because the embargo information says we're not allowed to talk about anything past the second chapter. I don't want to risk, you know, doing that
Yeah.
because there are connections to previous games.
Cool.
So if you played them, you're going to feel very familiar. Two things that may throw people out of this. If you haven't played any of the other games, I do recommend doing so while you've got time before this comes out,
Mhm.
because it does pick up the story of those other games. I didn't know them, but they do a good job of explaining things, so you don't have to worry about that. The other thing is there is a lot of wordplay, a lot of jokes seem to be based on the Japanese language. I
Right.
know that the wordplay with is very big in Japan with a lot of the way a lot of the words kind of have sounds the same. They
Mhm.
didn't translate them. I don't want to say they didn't translate them well. I think they just translated them literally when bringing it over to English. So the joke was
Right.
lost on us.
Yeah.
It's but like I said, even with that, just a very entertaining, fun game.
Cool. So how many games are in this series?
3.
Okay. And the one that's 3.99, is that the first one?
Yes, that's
Okay.
AI the Somnium Files,
Mhm.
and I can't remember the name of the other one, but if you want to talk for just a second, I'll look it up really quickly.
Yes. And they're all 3 available on the Switch? Well, this one
Yes.
will be on the Switch in July, but yeah, the
Yeah,
first 2. Yeah.
July 25th at the end of the month. The second one is called AI the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative. That one's also on sale, and it's $9.99 right now.
Nice. Cool. And so you hadn't played either of the first 2?
No,
No. Okay. But you
no.
yeah, you will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think they're kind of like visual novels. I think with puzzle elements, obviously,
Mhm.
some, and there are like 3, at least in this one, there are 3 different puzzle parts. So you have the escape rooms, you have the investigations, where you're just kind of walking around gathering information, and then you have the ones where you're p syncing and you're getting inside the person's head and figuring that out. You can control the difficulty of each segment separately.
Oh, that's cool.
So if you're better at one part than the others, you can adjust that. And then after a while, if you're not getting it, they'll ask you, do you want to lower the difficulty? And you don't get penalized for it. It just makes it easier so you can go along. And you can start story mode and not have to really solve anything.
Yeah, right. That's pretty I love that sort of
Yeah.
accessibility feature. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if this team had done anything else before this.
Yes. I know they're somehow connected to the Nonary
Mhm.
games, like 999 and Zero Escape,
Ah, yep.
those.
Mhm.
So yeah, they're not quite as dark as that. At least this one wasn't.
Yeah.
But the same approach. And you know who else would really like these kind of games are fans of Phoenix Wright and
Yeah.
the Ace Attorney games.
Yeah. I was getting that vibe just looking even at the screenshots and hearing you
Yeah.
talk about it. It does give me some vibes like that, yeah, which is cool. Wow, awesome. That's really good. You have so many good games this year to talk about at the end of the year.
Yeah. I've been quite pleased so far.
Yeah, yeah, that's really neat. Did you wanna briefly touch on the next Switch 2 game that you're gonna review?
Yeah, because this one I'm not going to be able to get done right away.
Yeah.
I'm going to play another Switch 2 game, and this one is Nobunaga's Ambition Awakening Complete Edition. I am just starting it, so you don't need to worry about me going into too much detail. We reviewed the original version of this that came out for the Switch. It did not score well with our reviewer. The reason why I'm taking this, I haven't been great at these kind of games. But when I think I pointed this out when Nintendo first announced the mouse controls with the Joy-Con on the Switch 2, this was exactly the game that popped into my head because it's a
Mm.
real-time strategy game where you're controlling armies. You just have a ton of things to work with. It's along the lines of Civ. Um, so big, messy interfaces you've got to work with, and they're so much easier to do with a mouse that I really want to see if just having mouse controls can really help out the whole experience of playing this really complicated, from a strategic standpoint and interface standpoint, game.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do think, yeah, this type of game really looks like it could benefit from this from the mouse controls. So be very interested to see what you think of it when you get into it. Yeah, could be very interesting, honestly.
Yeah, I'm going to need a lot of tutorials at the start to help me figure it out.
Yes.
But once I get moving, yeah, it's because I do it comes from Koei Tecmo, and I really like that company. I like so many of the games that they put out, and you know how I am about ancient Japanese culture, and
Mm,
that's
mhm.
very much where this is set. So it's right along my lines. I just got to be able to wrap my head around the system.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hope that goes well, honestly. And you can we'll revisit it once you've had a chance to delve in and give it some time and see whether it gels with you. Yeah, that'd be very interesting. Mm. Excellent. Thank you, Kirk. Anything else you wanted to, I guess, add or highlight we- before we close things off for the week?
Oh, I think I've talked enough.
Yeah. Well, when Trev's not here, we have to do his share of talking. So no, it's all good. Yeah, no, we've had a lot to discuss, and there's a lot happening. There's a lot to look forward to. Yeah, I'm really excited for the second half of the year. So we'll see. With starting with Donkey Kong soon, and a couple of weeks away now. But yeah, there's definitely a lot to look forward to. So listeners, let us know what's next on your kind of wish list or what you're excited about for the second half of the year, because it is now. This episode will launch on the 30th, so we're entering the second half of the year tomorrow, essentially, which is
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy. It's going really fast. But thank you, Ko, for joining me this week. Thank you, listeners. If you would like to follow us on social media, you can head on over to Blue Sky and check out our posts. And we post all our reviews and news over there as well, which links to our website, of course, purenintendo.com. If you'd like to support us, you can head on over to patreon.com/purenintendo, and you will get yourself a copy of our physical magazine that is sent out directly to your door when we are done with designing it, of course. We're doing that right now for our next issue, so stay tuned for more information. But until next week, thank you and game on, everybody. Bye.